Tonight on the In All Kinds of Weather forecast, the Florida Gators blast the Tulane Green Wave 33-8 in the Gasparilla Bowl. We will recap it all and we'll talk about what this win means for the Florida Gator program. This is the In All Kinds of Weather forecast. And welcome back to the In All Kinds of Weather forecast. I am your host, Neil Schulman, riding solo tonight as Chris finishes a couple of things up and his job. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at All Kinds Weather. Before we go any further, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, tell your friends, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review on Apple Podcasts. That always helps us bring you more great content. Gotta take another second to shout out our sponsors today. All Kinds of Weather forecast is proudly sponsored by 401k Generation, the wealth management company that helps you invest today for your future tomorrow. Their team of advisors is committed to providing guidance and education for your 401k plan and its participants, and they offer a range of enrollment solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of your company's 401k plan. Whether it is savings for your child's college, investment advice, or even just your retirement, 401k Generation's team of advisors makes getting to know you their top priority. Their advisors will tailor a path to assist you in navigating life's financial milestones and reaching your financial goals. That is 401k Generation, building stronger futures, one generation at a time. For more information, contact them at 866-998-5879 or visit their website at 401kgeneration.com. Also, have to shout out our official merch partner, Heads and Tails, your one-stop shop for everything Florida Gators merch related. Go to their website at theheadsandtails.com and get yourself some gear for the holidays. Last chance to do so because this code we have to give you expires on New Year's Eve. It is code IAKOW30 to get 30% off your order, both in-store or online. They are Tampa-based, but they ship anywhere in the country. And like I said, that code is good for another 10 days. So hurry up now and get yourself some Florida Gator gear for the holidays and for the new year. That is theheadsandtails.com. All right. Florida Gator football wins the Gasparilla Bowl 33-8 over the Tulane Green Wave. A lot to like in this game for sure. The win improves Florida to 14-6-2 all-time against Tulane. Remember, Tulane was a charter member of the Southeastern Conference, so these teams did used to be ancient conference foes about 70 to 80 years ago. Also, the win pushes Florida over 500 in bowl games again all time. The Gators now once more have a winning overall bowl record, now at 25-24 overall. This snapped a 3-game losing streak in bowl games, including the 2020 Cotton Bowl, the 2021 Gasparilla Bowl, and the 2022 Las Vegas Bowl, before they didn't even make a bowl game at all last year. This is Florida's first win in a bowl game since the Capital One Orange Bowl at the end of the 2019 season when the Gators defeated Virginia 36-28. Now, the Gasparilla Bowl deserves a shout out because they made a big deal of this game, and it was quite the aesthetic scene in Tampa, dressing up the end zones in this aqua and turquoise and slightly darker turquoise and sand-colored beige paint to represent a treasure map in the end zones. They figure, hey, we're the Gasparilla Bowl, pirate theme, arg, matey, and all that good stuff. May as well lean into it and go all out with the end zones. And for a while, it was a shame because it looked like all that hard work in the end zones would go for nothing, as both teams were stuck in reverse early in the game on offense. Florida was able to move the ball, but DJ Lagway threw 2 ugly interceptions, one in the end zone. I guess that gave it some airtime on TV. That wiped 7 points off the board, and another one deep in his own end that thankfully the Florida defense was able to hold and force a field goal, which Tulane missed, so it wound up not costing the team at all. But another throw you just can't have, and I'm pretty sure DJ Lagway knows it. I'm pretty sure he'll learn from it. He's a very intelligent young man. I'm certain that he is going to become better because of it. But in the context of discussing this one football game, that was a really bad decision. And Even when Lagway was not throwing interceptions, this Florida offense was just not able to punch the ball in the end zone. The Gators offense stalled inside the Tulane 25-yard line on four separate occasions on the day. And again, that's not even counting the interception in the end zone. Five trips inside the Tulane 25-yard line overall, and four trips inside the Tulane 15-yard line that the Gators could not finish the drive with a touchdown and had to kick a field goal on four of them. And on the fifth, DJ Lagway threw the interception. As a result, this game was 6-0 Florida at halftime. Florida had outgained Tulane 269-62 in the first half. And yet it was a 6-0 game with 50% of the game gone. And it was only 9-0 Florida midway through the third quarter. So definitely a lot of reasons to be frustrated as Florida was moving the football, but they just could not get themselves the ultimate prize, the treasure chest, if you will, at the end of each drive. But luckily, Florida also did a lot of things right on this day. Specifically, the Gator defense did its job. The Gator defense clearly is leaps and bounds better right now than it was earlier in the season. Now, in the name of objectivity and intellectual honesty, Florida was playing a Tulane team that A, does not recruit from the same pool of talent as Florida, and B, did not even have a lot of their starters in this game. They were utilizing a backup quarterback in Ty Thompson, who himself is also already actually on his way out. He is in the transfer portal as we speak. In fact, his name was in the transfer portal as he played the game on Friday night. So if you want to go, well, good. You should be shutting down Tulane's offense. It's Tulane. Not to mention, it's Tulane's backups. You're not wrong. Tulane putting up 420 yards a game as a team in the American Conference is not exactly the profile of a team of an offense that should be lighting Florida up. That, by the way, qualified Tulane as 41st in the FBS heading into this game, again, as an American Conference team where the talent is much weaker. But that said, all you can do is put the ball down and go play the opponent in front of you. And Florida did that. The Gators defense very clearly has taken a step forward, a massive step forward even, since the Miami Hurricanes game. Miles Graham, Aaron Childs, freshman, played very well at linebacker behind Shamar James, who had a spectacular day overall for the Gators at linebacker. A fantastic showing from Jordan Castell, who throughout 2024 left a lot to be desired in the regular season. He was excellent in this game. And I rewatched it before doing this show. There was not a single play where Jordan Castell was badly out of position. In fact, there was only one single play where anyone on the Florida defense was badly out of position. There were a couple of one-on-one battles, receiver on DB, a couple of times Florida DBs maybe gave up a step or two of real estate. But in terms of just completely busting the assignment and just not doing the job, only one play in the entire game, a trick play at that, a double pass by Tulane. We're talking about a mix of ones and twos on the field for Florida. It's hard to know exactly who had what assignment, but it was going to be a bust by Florida. Thankfully, the throw was inaccurate, so it didn't cost Florida any points. The point is, one play over the course of an entire game, you can be happy with that. That's a good job by this defense. They were gap sound. They made tackles for the most part. There weren't any terrible missed tackles. When the Gators did get pressure on Ty Thompson, they brought him to the ground. They stuffed Tulane's offense on a couple of different short yardage situations. That's good. They forced a field goal attempt in the red zone after one of Lagway's interceptions. Turned out the field goal missed, but even if it went through the uprights, that's still a big-time victory for the Gator defense to not let Tulane capitalize on that field position. Overall, this Florida defense did its job in spectacular fashion. And the Gators offense eventually did its job as well. DJ Lagway threw for 305 yards, which, the more I think about it, is kind of crazy that this is the case. But somehow that is a record for the Gasparilla Bowl. I guess part of that is the fact that this bowl game is only some 15 years old and started as the St. Petersburg Bowl. But nonetheless, 305 yards, 22 completions on 35 passes on the day, and a touchdown to Tony Livingston. That touchdown play, that touchdown pass increased the score from 9-0 to 16-0. And in the span of one single play, you go from thinking this game is just absolutely ugly and cannot possibly end soon enough. Let's just try our best to bleed the clock out to going to, wow, a touchdown. We scored. Now let's do it again next drive. And the positivity about the offense comes back into your mind. You can start feeling as though, okay, we can score touchdowns. Now let's put more points on the board and increase our margin just to put the game away. I think that touchdown to Livingston was the point at which we could all tell this game was going Florida's way. Florida also got touchdowns from Katie Daniels and Anthony Rubio. By the way, yes, that is the son of Secretary of State Marco Rubio. I don't care what your politics are. That's pretty cool that the Gators have the son of a Secretary of State playing football for them. He's a walk-on. He got himself into the end zone. I know people wanted that touchdown to go to Des Watson, but it's actually, to me, it's actually even cooler when it's a walk-on who scores a touchdown than the big defensive tackle. Des Watson clearly has had his moments at Florida. To me, he'll always be memorialized for just stiff arming Spencer Rattler into next July. And even just that first down carry that he had in this game was enough to goat him, as they say. He's goated, or you're goated for that comment, to goat Des Watson. That first down carry was enough to do that. Also, picking up Ty Thompson, just lifting him off the ground like he's a toy, was very, very amusing to watch. But anyway, good to see the love get spread around. Good to see both Des Watson and Anthony Rubio get their moments in the sun. And also Katie Daniels. Great awareness on that play. That is a very, very frightening looking play where the exchange gets bungled, the ball's on the ground. In theory, if it bounces the wrong way, that could be scoop and scored by Tulane for 7 points for the Green Wave. Instead, it happened to bounce right to Katie Daniels, who had the wherewithal to pick it up and then get through the defense right onto that treasure map in the end zone. So nice to see that as well. Florida, I think at that point, uh, even the most pessimistic and cynical Gator fans. I know people think that I kind of hold that title, but there were people after the Tony Livingston touchdown who said, "Yeah, this game's not over," because in theory, the rule of scores that didn't do anything because 9-16, it's still two scores either way. So I happen to think that the Livingston touchdown was kind of the point in which the game was over. There were people in my mentions on social media who disagreed with that. I think even those people, after the Katie Daniels touchdown, agreed that this game was finished. So the Gators wound up with one more touchdown from Anthony Rubio after that point, going from 26 to 33 to nothing. Florida did give up a garbage time touchdown by Tulane. Kind of got some help from the officials there. But regardless, Florida won the game 33-8, 4 wins in a row. First time that's happened under Billy Napier. And now there's real momentum heading into the offseason. Last thing, before we get to the grades, got to touch on the officiating again. And I hate to do this because Florida did win the game by 25 points. The officiating was just awful. It was just absolutely abysmal. Again, multiple missed PIs against Tulane defensive backs on Florida receivers, just letting them play when it was Florida's wide receivers hand fighting with Tulane's defenders. And yet, at the same time, very quick to throw that flag when it was the other way around. Objectively, that's just not acceptable. You can't have one set of standards when one team has the ball and another set of standards when the other team has the ball. That's just not how fair and impartiality works. And this is me saying this after a Florida blowout win. So there's no emotional attachment to this. Florida was going to win the game regardless of how good or bad the officiating was. And it's just objectively a problem. And you can go to games that don't even involve Florida. You can go to the drunken bozos at Texas throwing stuff onto the field and essentially bullying the referees, who, by the way, made a terrible call in the first place in that game, to then changing their call. Like, that's a major league problem. So I know this was a MAC crew. which actually makes this even worse in a way because they should not be officiating a Florida Gators football game under any circumstances. But anyway, it just continues the trend of horrific officiating in college football. And here's my attempt at a solution: pay them more, make it a full-time job for these officials with benefits. These guys work 9 to 5 jobs during the week and they just do this on Saturdays. So because they only work this job maybe 15 days out of the year, the conferences in the NCAA can get away with 1099ing them and paying them very little. And you know what? You get what you pay for. But anyway, here's my idea. Anyone that any conference or league hires to be a ref, make them take it more seriously and pay them as such. Make them do a full month-long training retreat every year where you do nothing but drill them and train them and coach them up to be the best officials they can be. Workshop different scenarios with them. Force them to sit in a movie theater with all 22s of prior games rolling on the screen, on the projector, and make them officiate these games in real time. Send them around the country in the springtime to go officiate spring scrimmages, not even spring games, spring scrimmages. Send them to high schools. Have them practice on high school spring practices. And sure, with just a month-long training retreat that I just mentioned, plus a bunch of Saturdays in the fall, that's not a full-time job. So yes, encourage them to take other part-time jobs around that, but pay them as full-time employees for this job so that they actually take it seriously. And then when they make mistakes, write them up for it like you do in any other job. You document it, you discipline them for making mistakes, and on the other side, you reward them with bonuses when they do well. Make refereeing and umpiring in college sports a full-time job. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry. The money is there. The SEC just signed this TV deal with ESPN and ABC worth $300 million per year. The SEC, if no one else can, the SEC can afford a few dozen $65,000, $70,000 base salary employees plus bonuses for doing good jobs. It's worth it to protect this investment that you built. And as so many different things in college football are changing around us, for the most part, not even in a good way, the very least you can do is protect the investment that you have built in the on-field product. When the ball is placed down between those white lines, it is snapped, and the guys on both sides in different jerseys are firing off it and into action, you can at least do your part to ensure that the game will be called fairly and accurately. And, mistakes are going to happen. Of course they are. No one's perfect, but you will limit the frequency of which these mistakes happen and limit the amount of times in which games are decided by horrible officials. Anyway, that's my idea. I don't claim to have all the answers here. That's just mine. So if you have a better idea of how to fix the officiating in college football, comments down below. Go comment, sound off. Let me know what you think. And if you have a better idea, I'll shout you out on the next show. All right, back to the game. Final word, grades. Offense gets a C+. Florida gained 520 yards, 529 yards, I should say, of total offense, which is very good, but they're going to get dinged pretty heavily for the 2 picks thrown by DJ Lagway and the failure to score touchdowns in the red zone. Not a terrible showing for the offense. C+ is not horrible. It's a passing grade. It's comfortably a passing grade, but there's certainly room for improvement. Nowhere close to a perfect showing here. The defense is very close to a perfect showing. They get an A. Defense gets a solid A. I reserve A+ grades for when there's literally nothing that a reasonable person could possibly have asked for them to do better. Florida did give up a touchdown in the final seconds. I know the game was well out of hand. I know it wasn't the starters, but if you're going to ask, well, why not an A+? Well, that's why. A+s are for perfection. This was an A. This was terrific. This was absolutely spectacular. It was not a perfect showing. The level of opponent has something to do with it, too. Tulane is clearly not the same type of animal as a Tennessee or a Texas, but This was a terrific showing. I'm very, very happy with this. Guys played within their gaps, no big plays, no one got behind the defense. They held Tulane under 200 yards of total offense. They got to Ty Thompson a number of different times, even when they didn't sack him, putting some hits on him, also picked him off 3 times. Terrific. Very happy with that. And now we get to the special teams. Trace Mack saved this from being a complete failure. He did hit 4 field goals. He gets credit for that. Special teams gets a D plus. First, you have 10 guys line up for a punt on the first drive of the game. So that's not good. That goes to show that maybe that mat we had in the offseason that people were creating all sorts of discourse about. Well, why didn't we have it the last few years in the first place? Okay, well, you know what? With the mat, without the mat, Florida special teams has just been awful under Billy Napier. And then you have to burn another timeout because you only have 10 men on the field for a field goal attempt. As Bryce Lovett almost essentially just throws someone to the ground on the Florida sideline to sprint onto the field with 6 seconds to go on the play clock. I truly don't understand how this is possible to have this continue to happen at this frequency. I genuinely don't understand it. It's the final game of year 3. This literally cost us the game against Arkansas last year, where we had a substitution infraction because we didn't know what we were doing. One of the few times I've ever seen Graham Mertz legitimately mad. It literally cost us the game against Tennessee this year because we still didn't know what we were doing on a field goal attempt. And even in Florida wins this year, it's still happening. Against LSU, only 10 men on the punt again. Again, I'm out of solutions. I'm out of words. I'm out of explanations. I'm out of suggestions. I truly don't know what to do with this special teams. I think at this point, we just have to accept that special teams is going to continue to make these mistakes. This unit will continue to fail to correctly count to 11 until the end of Billy Napier's tenure, whenever that may be. And I'm not even calling for Napier to be fired anymore. I think he has earned that. He has earned an offseason of me not only accepting the fact that he's going to be back next year, but respecting that and choosing my avenues of discourse as such. I think Napier has earned that with the way he's gotten this team to buy in and play for him and play for the logo, except for the guys who don't, like Jack Pyburn. But Napier's earned that. So I'm not even calling for his head anymore. Special teams is going to be a liability for us, which is a stark departure from the Urban Meyer days. But you know what? You can win without it. Go back to the 2022 South Carolina game. Florida literally did everything wrong in that game they possibly could. They muffed a punt. They had a field goal blocked. They had another field goal where they couldn't put the ball down for the kick to even get off the ground. They gave up a fake punt for a touchdown, and they gave up a 40-yard punt return to Juice Wells. Florida won that game 38-6. So if everything is done right on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, you can live without it. So I don't know, maybe this is me coping, but I think we're just going to have to make peace with it. The special teams unit, we had a good kicker too. Trace Mack is part of it. We just got Evan Noel, a 5-star kicker recruit. That's great. Jeremy Crawshaw is going to leave, but we did just get another punter through the portal from Michigan. So, okay, maybe we'll have good specialists, but this unit is going to continue to be a liability until it's not. And I think with that said, we can just move on and accept that and put a pin in that and know that and remember that and just talk about other things. So speaking of which, coaching, I'm going to give a solid B. I don't like the play calling, but I think a lot of that is I just don't like the offensive system, period. I think this offense could be so much more imaginative than it currently is, but I'll talk about that on the next show in a lot more detail because that's a separate conversation for a separate day. I do think Billy Napier's universally natural game plan of 12 personnel and a lot of short passes worked against Tulane because A, they played back so much, and B, because Florida had the talent advantage where pretty much anything they did was going to work against them. It didn't matter if Florida was lining up in four verts and Tulane was dropping eight back in coverage. It was going to work because Florida just had the athletes to make it work. That's not going to be the case against teams like Texas or Tennessee or Georgia. But in this particular case, I don't really think it mattered that much. And I think that Napier called the plays he had to play to win the game. Florida executed the plays enough to win the game. And the fact that he had most of his players in this game to begin with, only the departing transfers and an injured Cam Jackson did not play. Pretty much everyone else did. That's part of this too. And Napier absolutely deserves credit for that. So he's going to get a B. It was a solid coaching job. No real heavy complaints. And that's a great way to end the season with 4 straight wins. The momentum is real for the Florida Gators. The Gators are absolutely trending in the right direction now. The questions that are going to start now that the season itself is over and the offseason has officially begun, the questions are going to be of the variety of, okay, this program has been elevated from a complete dumpster fire, which I think was a very fair assessment after the Miami game and after the Texas A&M game, really, especially after you start 1-2 with 2 straight losses in the swamp. A dumpster fire to, okay, now they're knocking off ranked teams, LSU and Ole Miss. They beat their biggest rival in FSU, and then they show that they can avoid that letdown game. They blew out Tulane. Okay, that's great because Florida had lost to Kentucky the last couple of years. Well, they beat them too this year. Okay, we see a lot of data points heading in the right direction. Can the Gators take that next step? Can they continue the trajectory, which right now is looking very good, but they've gone from here up to here. Can they now go up here to even higher and higher to where it's way off your screen watching on your iPhone or your computer, or if you're listening on audio only, just imagine holding your hand out and then raising it a few inches and a few inches more and so on and so forth. Can the Gators do what they have to do to continue the trajectory? Because the things that they have done to get themselves from the dumpster fire place that they were in September to the point of, okay, good football team right there. They're doing a lot of things well. Different things are going to have to happen to go from that point of, okay, they're doing some good things, they're looking like a good football team right now, to championship caliber team. And we'll talk about that in the next episode of the All Kinds of Weather Forecast. But that's it for this one. Right now, if you like the show, please give us a 5-star rating and a nice review if you're listening on audio. If you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to smash that subscribe button, comment, leave your thoughts, like this video. Let us know what the Gators have to do this offseason. I think we all know, or I think most of us know one of the things they have to do. Let me know what you think about the officiating problem in college football. It's not just a Gator issue. I mean, we do have some FSU and Miami and Georgia listeners. Let me know what you think, because this is a problem that affects all of us. This is not just a Gator issue here. So let me know your thoughts on anything and everything that we discussed today on the All Kinds of Weather Forecast. We'll be back with you again very soon. But until then, we got to win over Tulane. We've won 4 straight games. We do have real momentum heading into the offseason. And yes, even negative Neil is happy right now. The Gators are certainly trending in the right direction. I just want that trend to continue to the point where the Gators are competing for and then someday winning the national championship.